Well, you probably heard this week that there are Russian submarines now in port in Cuba. The Russians doing military drills 66 miles from the coast of the United States. And look, none of this happens in a vacuum. Russia works in coordination with Iran, China, sometimes North Korea. It's not a good place to be. Not for us, and we have a weakling in the White House that's doing nothing about it. This is no John Kennedy, is it? Anna Mou is a member of the new federal state of China. She watches these things closely, keeps us up to date. Anna, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much. I'm good to be here. Thank you.
So the CCP's malicious tactics extend all the way to the Western Hemisphere as well, as the Russians are playing war games not too far from Florida. The CCP is in places like Argentina, trying to build factories for fighter jets. They're also looking for Western fighter pilots, talented people in the West that they can recruit and pick off and bring home, right? There's all sorts of things going on behind the scenes, isn't there?
All sorts going on. That is indeed the case. Now, if you look at the thing about Russia here, the United States, the administration recently have said that Russia warships pose no threat in Cuba. Now, this is, well, I would just have to say we hope that's the case. But unfortunately, what we know as a new federal state of China, and from the information that we received even a few years ago, the CCP as well is using military modified container ships as its military base in Cuba to prepare for war against democratic countries at any time. And they have a lot of military bases set up for drone bases for the, if you look at how they have done previously with the balloons, they have a lot over there. So in South America, in a lot of these, the surrounding regions, there's quite a lot of that going on. So also about Putin and also about Russia there. Recently visiting North Korea, in which Kim Jong-un actually have called Putin as the so-called invincible comrade together. So I think that can really let us understand what is going on and really how far they have planned into the possible war at any given time. But really, like you have said here as well, I think it's where we have to deal with the problems that have in the country first before we can actually move another action towards elsewhere. So, recently we have also seen, there's quite a lot of that.
Yeah, so, right, and so when I look at I'm going to stay with Cuba for a moment, what's happening there, because China has also targeted places like Panama and Costa Rica. I mentioned Argentina, but there are 33 different political entities in the Caribbean. There are 13 sovereign nations in the Caribbean, plus a bunch of dependencies. But those sovereign nations, many of whom are happy to see investment come in from China. And what you end up with are those military bases, are those inroads, or those ability for China to have a place to park their submarines or their aircraft carriers or whatever it might be. And it's always been the American policy to not tolerate something like that in our hemisphere, certainly not that close to our southern border. And yet here we are looking weak on the national and international stage, and it's dangerous if China gets in there, is it not?
Of course. And, how close is that? It's just right beneath the United States. It's just right beneath the country. And then you look at where they have put, and, even that we're talking about outside the United States. Now, in America, of course, with the infiltration, with all of these, the different infiltrated sectors, these agencies in the United States, that is just going to make an impact. And with, like you said, a lot of the different sectors, parties around the world are more welcoming towards the CCP's funds coming in, because that's just means their own political party can get in the spot, they can get more funds, they can get into the administration in place. So I think that's where we can, see it lining up, and also towards what's happening in the United States as well. So, I mean, look at the bigger picture. It seems like it's quite similar in this case, really.
So what do we do? I mean, obviously, from where I stand, I believe we need to have a change at the top. I think that Anthony Blinken is worthless. I think that our foreign policy in most places is worthless, whether it's Ukraine or what we're trying to do in Gaza and Israel. It's But it's far worse when it's right here in our own backyard. If we don't do our job to look out for America, we are failing this country as an administration. I believe that's what's happening, because the CCP has infiltrated us through high schools and colleges, into the military. However many Chinese nationals have come across the southern border, which nobody's quite sure, but it's tens of thousands now over the last 3.5 years. All of this should be a red flag, a red light flashing, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. And, the United States, let's say the administration, recently even imposed new sanctions on, said about 300 individuals and companies accused of aiding Russia's recent actions, and also companies from Communist China. But all this is not going to work. We've seen sanctions from the past. We've seen these policies from the past, but it is just only, it's only a lamb, only a letter, only the surface above. But really what's behind is, if we don't change what's happening inside the country, nothing else will change. And that's why for the people in the United States, and also for the people in the Democratic countries, for the elections coming up, you got to use your voice. And it is just that simple. And sometimes, like we know, it can be, change can be modified, but always stick together and love the country, love the people around you, and really fighting together, bring them together. I think that's something that we should, definitely stand together for. So in the end, it's just bring everyone here. Yeah.
Anna Mou, the new federal state of China. Look, there are a lot of red lights flashing for us right now on the world stage, whether it's Russia or China moving in. We need to be mindful. We need to be more proactive. That's a fact. The new federal state of China keeps on top of this every day. You should follow them at NFSC Speaks on all the social media platforms, at NFSC Speaks on the social media platforms. Anna, good talking to you as always. Thank you for being here on a Friday.
Thank you very much.